A deadly virus from China is spreading around the world, and with it, a wave of conspiracies. This is America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. China is spending $10 billion a year on soft power, but it's not spreading. Instead, you know what is spreading? A deadly Chinese coronavirus. It started in Wuhan, China. Now it's showing up around the world. 5 cases of the virus have already been confirmed in the United States. And you know what else is spreading? Panic. Should you panic? The answer is no. You should not panic. Unless you're watching the show illegally from China, especially Wuhan. Then feel free to panic. As of this recording on Monday, more than 2,700 people in China have been confirmed to be infected with the virus, and 81 people have died. That's based on the Chinese government's official data. But their data is likely not giving us the full picture. This virus comes at a really bad time. It's the Lunar New Year, the biggest annual holiday in China. It's also the world's largest human migration. Hundreds of millions of Chinese people travel. Most of them go back home, but millions are traveling overseas. To make matters worse, although the average time between getting the virus and showing symptoms is 5 days, in some cases, people have had the virus for up to 2 weeks before symptoms start showing. That's why it can suddenly pop up in cities like Seattle and Chicago and LA without airport authorities detecting it, even though they've been scanning people flying in from China. And with so many people panicking, conspiracies and misinformation about the virus are spreading almost as quickly as the virus itself. We'll talk about the conspiracies in just a couple of minutes, but it's worth considering one reason why it's so easy for conspiracy theories to manifest. Because the virus began with a conspiracy, one that happens to be true. See, there were rumors of people sick with this coronavirus in China in early December. But Chinese officials covered it up until it spread so much that it became too big to cover up. This is essentially what happened back in 2003 when the Chinese Communist Party tried to cover up the spread of SARS, a respiratory disease also caused by a coronavirus. Unfortunately, cover-ups are common in China. That's because the communist system encourages officials to follow orders and avoid blame, rather than speak out when they see a problem that could be embarrassing, such as people mysteriously getting sick in your city. By mid-January, once it became too big to cover up, Chinese leader Xi Jinping stepped in and promised to resolutely curb the outbreak. So did this guy, who's standing guard to keep strangers out of his hometown. If only a giant battle axe were the best way to stop an epidemic. In Wuhan, the city where the virus appears to have started, authorities have put the entire city under quarantine, no one in or out. Of course, due to the delay in reporting the seriousness of the coronavirus, 5 million people had already left Wuhan before the lockdown. Most of them had left the city early to travel for the new year. Others panicked and left after the lockdown was announced. And around the country, authorities have put more than 56 million in 17 other cities under partial or full lockdown. So, does that mean it's really bad? Not necessarily. The strong show of force could be an attempt by the Chinese Communist Party to look like they've squashed the spread. According to the senior editor of Foreign Policy, James Palmer, Chinese communist officials might be putting on a show that makes the virus seem worse than it is. An example is the Chinese city of Shantou. It's nowhere near Wuhan, but officials there put the city on lockdown. But they had to lift it after everybody freaked out. On the other hand, the fact that the Chinese regime is being so open about fighting the disease could mean that it really is so bad they can't cover it up. Residents of Wuhan, the source of the disease, are describing a horror show. And footage like this has surfaced of a Wuhan hospital with patients waiting for treatment next to dead bodies. But just as the official numbers don't give a full picture of what's happening, these viral videos don't either. For example, it's impossible to tell from a video whether the patients waiting for the treatment have the coronavirus or other illnesses. But it's clear that people are scared and many hospitals are overwhelmed. Although I have to hand it to the guy who came to the hospital with his own lounge chair. That's thinking ahead. There's all sorts of conflicting information out there about the virus because, as I said, people don't necessarily trust the government. And since there really was a cover-up when the virus first emerged in December, a lot of people still think the government could be hiding what's really happening and downplaying the number of infections and deaths. And especially since Chinese officials spent the crucial first days of the Wuhan coronavirus outbreak arresting people who posted about it online and threatening journalists. So people want answers. They don't know where the virus came from, they don't know how dangerous it is, and they don't know what to do. And so sometimes they turn to conspiracies. Sure, conspiracies can turn out to be true, like the one about the Chinese officials covering up the coronavirus. But in this case, the simplest explanation is that the virus initially spread from this very unsanitary wet market in Wuhan. Most of the early reported cases were people who had contact with this market. Wet markets in China carry everything from fruits and vegetables to raw meat and live fish, poultry, and more exotic animals. This is the menu at one of the market stalls. Lots of animals here you should not eat. And it really freaked people out when this video of Batgirl showed up on the Chinese internet. Yeah, not the Batgirl you were hoping for, right? Actually, it turns out that video was from 2016. But after it started to go viral over the last few days, the woman in the video had to come out and apologize for eating the bat. Bats can carry more than 60 different types of viruses that can infect humans. In fact, scientists believe the SARS virus likely originated from bats, which then infected civet cats, which then infected humans. Do not eat bats, or civet cats, or, well, you get the idea. You don't have to eat exotic animals to risk a deadly pandemic. Unsanitary conditions at Chinese wet markets have also caused outbreaks of SARS and avian flu. A few days ago, Chinese officials did take action by banning the trade of wild animals until the coronavirus outbreak is over. That's maybe too little too late. We don't even know if the new coronavirus came from bats, although scientists have found a close genetic match between the coronavirus and one that affects bats. But it's early days and there's a lot of speculation. And that's allowed for a range of conspiracy theories to fill in the gaps. So here are a few of those. Conspiracy number 1. After the coronavirus started to spread, people discovered this US patent for a coronavirus. This led some people to conclude that this coronavirus was released in China as a kind of biological weapon. The problem is, coronavirus is a name for a big family of viruses, ranging from the common cold to the deadly SARS virus of 2003. The patent is not for the same strain as the one that's spreading right now from Wuhan. Conspiracy number 2. This is a related one, but with a different twist. There's actually more than one patent for a coronavirus. Here's one from a company called the Pirbright Institute. And it turns out one of their donors is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In case you don't know, Bill Gates is a figure in a lot of conspiracies involving global depopulation. So in this theory, Bill Gates is the mastermind behind releasing this virus on the world. And then, when the biotech companies he's funding find a vaccine, he gets filthy rich. Filthier rich. Maybe he'll even be able to afford that new iPhone 11 Pro. That thing is expensive. Conspiracy number 3. This one says the virus actually escaped a biolab in Wuhan. Now it turns out there actually is a biolab in Wuhan that studies deadly pathogens. And at the time of its construction, there were quality concerns about, a made-in-China biolab. One Rutgers University biologist pointed out, the SARS virus has escaped from high-level containment facilities in Beijing multiple times. But that does not mean the current virus escaped from that lab or any other lab. As one expert pointed out, there's no reason to harbor suspicions that the facility had anything to do with the outbreak. Conspiracy number 4. This one kind of combines everything. 2 Chinese researchers were escorted out of a Canadian infectious disease lab over the summer and stripped of their high-level security clearance. Shortly after, it came out that the same lab had shipped deadly diseases to China. And since Chinese nationals have been involved in stealing intellectual property from the West before, the conspiracy here is these Chinese researchers stole a virus from the West, shipped it back to Wuhan, and then in Wuhan, it escaped. Is it possible this virus escaped labs in Wuhan? I suppose it is. But then again, some people eat bats. So let's not jump to blame Chinese scientists or Bill Gates just yet. So what do you think? Leave your comments below. And please, let's keep everyone affected by this virus in our thoughts and prayers. Also, wash your hands often. Don't let anyone cough on you. And don't touch random people on the bus. Come to think of it, don't touch anything on the bus. That's also good general advice. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.